everyone, on this video we're going to talk to you about what we think is the most overlooked way to increase your sales very easily without having to really do much. Oftentimes when we talk to businesses about how to increase sales, a lot of businesses are focused on, hey, how can I get more sales on the front end? How can I advertise better? How can I get guys in essentially cheaper? If I have, let's say 100 sales, how can I go from that to 1,000 sales? And they're always focused on basically growing the number of sales that they have. But oftentimes the easiest way to actually grow bottom line or the revenue is to look at your existing sales, your existing clients, and see what you can do to make more off of them, to not only make more immediately, but to also see for any future client that you get to make drastically more as well. And there are a handful of businesses that try to think through some upsells and stuff. Like if they're selling a certain product, they'll try to have like a funnel with a handful of additional upsells and stuff. And that definitely can work very well. But oftentimes a lot of these people think like, hey, if we sell one product, let's make like, 2 or 3 more products that are related to this to have us basically upsells. And it's a lot of additional work. And sure, it can definitely pay off, if done right, but it's also a lot of work. And what you want to also do, on top of that, not necessarily instead, but what you want to for sure do is look and see, hey, what do your current clients really want? What additional things, whether it be services or products, do they want right now that they're willing to pay for? And what can you do to most easily provide those services or those offers or products to them, again, with the least amount of work? So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go and create a product yourself. It could be something that you look to have like an affiliate deal with where you refer guys over and you get a cut, or it could be something where you look to outsource the work to someone to make it hands-free for you, but you collect the money. And a perfect example of that is I have a friend who, he's actually recently retired now, but he used to run, until he sold it off, essentially a tech business where they dealt with like server maintenance and a whole bunch of tech stuff like that, where they would get paid usually thousands of dollars a month to look after the tech side of like servers and stuff for these clients. And one day he basically sat down and talked to me and goes like, hey, what's the way that I could get more sales in? And we looked at ways where he could basically market a little better, maybe certain sources, basically traffic and additional clients that he could get in. But I said, hey, really one of the easiest things is tell me a bit about what your clients want that maybe you don't currently sell them. And he's like, oh, that's super easy. Well, a lot of them always ask us if we design websites. And I'm like, do you? And he's like, no, we don't have anyone that basically does that. We're not looking to take on like a graphic designer and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, so what do you currently do with that? Do you just say like, no, we don't do any of that? Or do you like refer them off to like another guy? He's like, oh yeah, we just refer them off to another guy. I'm like, oh great, are you getting a cut of that? And he's like, no. I'm like, is it like someone that you actually know? Is it like a friend that you're referring them to? He's like, oh no, it's just, a place that we know that essentially does this. And I'm like, you don't get any cut? And he's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, how expensive would you say like these websites would be? Is this someone that's like looking to spend like 1 or 2 grand on a site, like a super small mom and pop, or is this a large one? He's like, oh, no. They probably have like a minimum budget of like 25 grand or more. In some cases, a lot more, like 50 grand or more to have like a website made. And I'm just thinking like, oh my God. Like I know guys that can make a site that looks as nice or nicer than most of those for like $500 to like 1,000 tops, where I could be referring guys off there either as a middleman where I just basically charge more, or just basically take a cut or like a split. Either way, a lot of money. So like, if you're taking a split, you could say, hey, if I refer you guys here, what's the kind of cut that I could get right there? And you try to find a guy that's willing to give you a hefty cut based upon the client and the price that you send them. Or you can just kind of be like a middleman and say, sure, I offer that service. And then what you do is you just outsource that basically as a middleman to a place that actually does that as a service, and you just charge more. So like if you find a guy that will basically do that for $1,000, if you turn around and sell it for $5,000, great, you just made $4,000 without having to really do any additional work. There's literally like almost no work involved right there. Once you get like a little fancy on it, you don't even have to be the middleman involved. You can go straight to this guy and say, hey, are you cool if I use you to send some of my clients to, where I'll just say you're part of my business, or some like affiliation where I'll take the money, I'll charge them, I'll work out the quote, but they can basically contact you for any of the revisions and stuff like that. that, I mean, 9 out of 10 will say sure, because like they're getting paid exactly what they want. I mean, it really is like a no-brainer. Another example from one of our own businesses is, we have one site of ours helps with basically payment processing and helps get more essentially declines turned into successful transactions. And that's worth a lot of money. And while we can certainly get like more and more clients there, we've also started to look at, hey, what additional services do all these guys oftentimes need that we don't want to necessarily do ourselves maybe, but we could either partner with a place or eventually offer these same things. And we've looked at stuff like, hey, a lot of these guys, because their volume's so large, they might have a fair amount of chargeback, so they might need like a chargeback service. So what could we do to help refer some of these guys out to a place that we know would save them a lot of money, but we could make some at the exact same time. And in some of these cases, there might be guys out there where your actual cut could literally be thousands of dollars a month right there just by finding the right guy. So we're increasing the revenue without necessarily having to offer the service ourselves or to make an additional product or service. There's tons and tons and tons of examples out there, but I find oftentimes the easiest then is if you don't know your clients well, if you don't know your market well, if you don't think you know what they want, and I'm guessing the majority of you probably have like a rough idea, but if you truly don't know, you can just ask them like, hey, what's some kind of services or what's some kind of products that you guys have a need for right now that maybe we could offer in the future. And you'll find that oftentimes the business owners or the people that are paying you for whatever product or service you have will be very upfront and say, hey, it'd be really awesome if you could do this, or if you could do that, or if you could refer me to a guy that does this or that. Again, you can turn, let's say, a $5,000 a month client into a $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month client very, very easily. In fact, going back to the server tech guy, I actually talked with him like a year or so after I gave him the recommendation to, say, hey, like start to refer stuff off, start to have upsells that you can easily outsource on the stuff that your guys are asking for. He actually got back and said, wow, we just implemented that a single offer and had like a huge increase in his overall sales without having to actually increase the number of sales that he was getting. In fact, I forgot the exact number, but I think it was close to basically double the sales just off of having like one extra offer that they offered out there. Because again, you'll oftentimes find that if there's a guy basically buying one service for, let's say, $1,000, he's probably buying a bunch of other stuff. I mean, perfect example is, let's say you're making a video for YouTube. You probably have a video editor. You probably have graphics guy that maybe does like a thumbnail. You might have like a voiceover guy. You might have like an SEO type guy. There's probably like 4 or 5 different kinds of services that you might need for the single video right there. So imagine if like, let's say you worked with a video editor that said, hey, I know the perfect place to get the voiceover. I know the perfect place to do the SEO. Or even better yet, if they said, hey, I could handle all this stuff for you, kind of hands-free. I can offer all these additional services for you where they don't have to learn that themselves. They could just kind of outsource that. You would probably thank them and be like, hey, that's super awesome. You can either get the referrals or work straight through them without having to search for all this stuff yourself. You'd probably thank them, even though you might be basically paying them, 4 times as much money. So with that, Sean, I know you've run a bunch of businesses in the past. I'm sure you probably have at least an example or two from either a business, of your own or one of maybe a client's of yours that you've seen them start to maybe offer like additional stuff on the side where, they didn't really have to have a new offer, like a new product themselves necessarily, but could add a substantial amount, of additional income there.
Sure. I think one of the biggest things when you start looking at this is to figure out what your people not only want, but what they want that you can give them that has a good profit margin, because that allows you to make more money, and whoever you're going to refer then can pay you a bigger commission rate. This is especially appropriate when you're selling to business owners, because businesses obviously spend money on a lot of different stuff, but whatever you're doing, you can probably find software or other business services that get paid on a recurring basis that you can recommend to somebody, and that lets you get paid over and over and over again for a one-time referral. Obviously, you want to refer them to somebody who does a good job and is appropriate for what they're trying to do. But a really good example is probably that I recently got contacted by a friend of mine who had built out a new segment of his business, and the people that he was training and helping needed a way to generate business leads of businesses that they could contact and a way to contact them. So I get a text while I'm out playing golf, and it says, do you have software that can do X, Y, and Z that we need done? And I said, yeah, we have something that's close, but we need to adapt for exactly what you want to do. And we're able to do that. And we're going to revenue share as what we're selling. And it's going to be worth a significant amount of money to both of us. And that's simply him doing exactly what we're talking about, taking his existing client base and adding a service that they need where he's going to generate money, we're going to generate money, the clients are going to be well served and get what they want. People obviously not going to buy what they don't want to buy. It's not like you can sell them crap and just to sell them stuff. It's what do they want? What do they need? What can they use? What do you see out in the marketplace that, hey, one of your competitors is selling and you're not selling, but you could find a way to do something similar with a third-party service that's going to get you paid? Because it's all about the fact that your customers, whether they're consumers or businesses, are spending money anyway. You have to get used to this concept. They're going to spend money whether you sell them things or not. Business owners a lot of times are like, well, if I don't offer it, they don't buy it. No, they just go find someplace else to buy it. The people, they know how to use Google. They know how to do research and find products and services. They know how to talk to other people that are similarly situated that they can find stuff to buy that fits their needs. If you don't have it, you don't offer it, they're going to buy it somewhere else. Now, it doesn't mean you need to go create it. Like Brian said from the very beginning, it's just finding the things they really want that you can go find a supplier or easily outsource so that you can give them exactly what they already want to buy or what they're already buying. And now instead of someone else getting the lion's share of the profits, you get a big share of the profits, and you greatly increase the value of your average customer, of your leads, of your business. And if you do this 3 or 4 or 5 different ways with different products and services, you can make a lot more money without increasing your overhead, without having to increase inventory, without having to invent new products, without even having to invent a new sales presentation in many cases, because the people that you're going to partner with to supply this already have done all of that work. All you're bringing to them are the referrals, and they're paying you because you're doing that in place of them having to go find their own customers and advertise and everything else. So you get a huge amount of money. Incrementally, your profits are like 100% on the referral from your standpoint, right? So this is a great way that you can increase your revenue. It's really overlooked by most companies that we deal with and consult with. They don't even think about doing anything like this. They're so focused on, we make stuff, we sell stuff, and that's their whole business.
Yeah, so with that, again, there's a huge amount of money oftentimes being left on the table. I mean, you have the possibility of potentially even doubling sales without having to get, a single additional client there. In some cases, even a lot more. But at a minimum, you're still talking a substantial amount of money without really having to do much, in some cases almost no additional work there. So definitely give that some thought. I guarantee with any offer you have, with any business you have, there's definitely stuff that you can do to make more there, whether it be a simple referral out, whether it be something you want to act more like a middleman on. I don't care what your business is. I don't care if it's an online one. I don't care if it's an offline one. There's definitely tons and tons of opportunities out there. So with that, if you like this topic or like any topic that has to do with making more as an entrepreneur, make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to check out our additional videos as well. Thanks, guys.